I'm here at the Pray Vote Stand Summit with Governor Mike Huckabee of the great state of Arkansas. Former governor, but forever an Arkansan, fellow Arkansan.
Yeah.
Governor, it's so great to have you here.
Well, thanks. It's a wonderful opportunity for the people of the country to come together and pray, stand, and let's hope, vote.
Absolutely. We are very glad to have you here. Tell me, what are you most concerned about in America today? What are you praying for?
I'm most concerned that there has been a large part of the population that has completely embraced an extremely radical left-wing agenda. I'm shocked. I mean, there's always been some people who are on the fringe, but now the media has completely embraced it. There's no longer a Democrat Party. There used to be. They're really not a Democrat Party. There is a socialist party, a far left-wing party, and they promote so many things that are hurtful to the very nature of what liberty means and what America is all about. And it's not a party thing anymore. There are a lot of Republicans who are absolutely so weak, so afraid to create any tension that they have become part of the problem as well. And I think we have to understand that this is, Joe Biden was right about one thing. It's a battle for the soul of our nation. But the question is, will our soul be related to a Judeo-Christian value, or will it be related to an embrace of absolute earthly things like environmentalism and worshiping government instead of God?
Well, you're talking about the soul of our nation, right? And Governor, I know that you are a former pastor as well. What is your advice to Christians as they are watching the news, engaging with cultural issues? How can they make sure that they are not being guided by the whims of the media, the whims of whatever culture is saying is posh, is popular to be voting for? How can they make sure that their Christian faith is guiding them?
Well, they need to make sure that they're identifying with what the Scripture teaches. When Christians have any other standard other than the Bible, they're in trouble. And I see a lot of Christians, they want to be loved. They don't want to have people hate them. They don't want to be labeled. Nobody wants to be called a racist, a misogynist. We just want to be kind of able to live our lives and not have people bug us. But we're not living in the kind of culture today where we can just be calm and relaxed and disengage from what's happening, because it is going to affect our children, in my case, grandchildren. For me to say, well, you know, I don't really want to get involved, I'm sorry, we are already involved. It's just a matter of, are we in it to have an influence for godly truth, or do we just want to be run over? And right now we're getting run over, and we're going to have to stand up and fight back. And when I say fight back, I don't mean that we're mean. I look at this like an NFL football game. And when you're on the field, you don't go and say, I'm so sorry, but when that ball is snapped, I might have to bump into you a little bit, might even tackle you. That's the nature of the game. Somebody wins, somebody loses. We have to look at what's going on in our culture as an intense game in which someone is going to win. Someone's values are going to prevail. I don't want it to be people who worship government and who worship the creation rather than the Creator. I want it to be people who worship and believe in an almighty Creator God who gave us standards to live by.
How can Christians stand in this day and age? What does that look like? What does that look like to deal with labels? Where's the courage found?
A lot of it is just not caring that people are saying things about us. We really have to get to the place where we don't go home and curl up in a fetal position, crawl up under our bed, and refuse to come out in the morning. We're going to have to say, okay, somebody hates me. They hated Jesus. And you know, when people say, oh, as a Christian, I just don't want to have conflict. Jesus had a lot of conflict. People hated him. I mean, they did crucify him. We seem to forget that, don't we? And there were times when he stood so very boldly, when he went into the temple and overturned the money changers' tables. That was not gentle. There was nothing gentle about that. When he called the Pharisees whitewashed tombs, snakes and vipers, you know, when people say, well, we've got to be kind, that wasn't very kind. I mean, if Jesus had tweeted, he would have tweeted some stuff that would surprise us. But let's keep in mind that he didn't call poor people, he didn't call hurting people, he called those who were exploiting the poor, the lonely, the hurting. He came for them. What he did not come for were the institutionalists who were using the institutions, in that case of religion, to basically trample people and keep them from being free.
That's a word. So I have one more question for you. Last question is, what is your hope for America? There's a lot of things to be not hopeful about, but surely there's hope as a Christian.
It all comes down to whether or not we have spiritual revival. I don't think politically we're going to see the great turn. It'll happen because people finally get so exasperated with the spiritual bankruptcy of our country that they cry out to God and revival comes. That will affect politics. I think some people are thinking that if we just get the politics right, it will affect revival. Opposite. Revival first, politics and culture second.
Thank you so much for your time, Governor Huckabee. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, and go Hogs.
Go Hogs.